Hello, fellow music makers. I hope this isn't too clickbaity, but I think you're going to like this if you haven't figured out how to do this already. I kind of knew about it and I kind of thought about it, but I didn't really put it together until I was messing around with the Native Instruments Playbox, which is a pretty cool tool. It's a pretty cool instrument. It allows you to put together chord progressions and layer different instruments and really come up with something unique instead of using the same old splice or, samples from, Artlist or Epidemic or wherever you get samples from. This, I think, is a more unique way to go about producing samples, but also use those samples to create some generative music where there's not a lot of repetition. And you'll see what I mean in a second. All right, so I took this sample of a piano and I'll pull it up here on the audio editor. All right, and what I did was I took a 4-chord pattern, so 1 2 3 4, and I looped it 4 different times, and each time I played a different lead instrument ever so slightly. All right, and you'll get a feel for that in a second. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to play the first slice of this 4-slice sample. All right. All right, you see that last note repeats? Let's go to the second slice. First note is completely different. All right, so that's different. Third slice. All right, last note goes up and then repeat. So the first note repeats twice. All right, so there's 3 different chord progressions, each with a slightly different lead element. All right, so that's fine and dandy. So let's get out of here and let's go to track 2, which is where I loaded that sample on. I sliced it up into 4 equal slices so that each 4-chord progression is its own slice. All right, and then if you put it into slice mode, turn slice mode on, what that does is that enables this little start section here. This parameter now controls which slice is playing on this trigger. All right, and I've got 4 pages set up. The trigger is only on page 1, so just on page 1. So every 4 pages it's going to trigger once. If you do nothing, then it's just going to play that same slice over and over and over again, which is kind of boring. But what you can do is you can use an LFO to modulate that parameter, which is the source sample start. I've got the waveform set up to random, all right, and I've changed the mult to some ridiculously fast value so that it's constantly getting a random value, all right. But the key here is, 1, to keep it free floating so that it's constantly moving in the background, and then the depth needs to be somewhere between 2 and 4, right? Because it's going to be kind of fluctuating between those 4 values, and we've got 4 slices. I think it should work with 2 if you set it in the middle, like if you set your default slice to slice, what do I have it set to? Slice 3, so it should go up 2 and down 2. But if you set it to 4, you're giving it a little bit more wiggle room. It's always going to choose an available slice, so you don't have to worry about it choosing a slice that doesn't exist. But let's see how that works. So I'm going to go back to the slice editor, zoom out so we can see all the slices, and then when I hit play, because again I have that trigger here, when I hit play, every time this trigger hits, it's going to pick a different slice. All right, so let's hit play. All right, so it picks slice 2. I can let it run, but we can also just start it over. There you go. It picks slice 1 this time. All right, again, it picks slice 3 this time, and then 2 again, and then slice 4. So in 5 tries, it went through all the different slices. So you can run this pattern for as long as you want, and it's going to sound different every single time because it's 4 different variations. So that's fine and dandy, but what happens when you take 4 slices with 4 different variations and then layer them on top of each other, which I've done. So I've got, that was my piano. I've got this one, which is some synths. I've got this one, which is some bells. And then I've got one here that I'm repurposing my Syntactic track for. And it's called cello. So there's a cello playing on it, right? So now I have all 4 playing, and every single time each one runs through and hits this trigger, I've already set up the LFOs on those other 3 channels, so we don't have to do it here. It's going to pick a new slice. So let's hear that. All right, so we can sit here all day and listen to it, but it's probably going to take a while before the same combination of 4 kind of sections play at the same time, because each one is being kind of generated on the fly by the random LFO, which I think is just awesome. So these are just samples, so we're not even picking random notes, we're picking random samples. All right, take that, add a drum beat to it, and then you've got, you know, a generative song that could, in theory, go on for quite a while before it repeats. Anyways, I hope this was informative. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and keep making music, man. Ciao.